First contact's deception. The quantum sensors picked up the Hegemony fleet long before their ships dropped out of hyperspace. In the depths of Luna Base Alpha, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the holographic display with steady eyes, her hands clasped behind her back. Hundreds of alien vessels materialized at the edge of the solar system, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight in ways that would have seemed beautiful if not for their deadly purpose. "Right on schedule," she murmured, glancing at Admiral James Rodriguez, who stood beside her in the command center carved deep within the moon's crust. "They're following the exact patrol pattern we extracted from their databases." The Admiral nodded, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the holographic displays. For 30 years, humanity had intercepted and decoded hegemony communications, learning everything about the coalition of species that considered themselves the rightful rulers of the galaxy. The hegemony had conquered 1,000 worlds, each time following the same protocol: arrival, demonstration of force, and swift subjugation of any civilization they deemed underdeveloped. "Status of the Artemis Network?" Rodriguez asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. Sarah pulled up another display, showing a vast web of quantum-linked satellites and defense platforms that remained completely invisible to conventional sensors. "All nodes operational, Admiral. The hegemony scans will show exactly what we want them to see: a handful of primitive satellites and some basic defense installations. Above them, through kilometers of lunar rock, the hegemony's advance fleet approached Earth. Their sensors would detect a planet still taking its first steps into space. A few orbital stations, some lunar mining operations, nothing that could possibly threaten their technological superiority." It was exactly the picture humanity had carefully maintained for decades. In the command center, hundreds of officers and technicians worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring systems that represented the true extent of human advancement: quantum computing, artificial intelligence, energy weapons that could tear apart space-time itself, all hidden beneath a carefully constructed veneer of technological inferiority. "First contact protocols initiating," announced Captain Mayaputil from her station. "The Hegemony flagship is broadcasting their standard greeting." The message appeared on the main screen, translated instantly by AI systems that had been studying hegemony languages for years. "People of Earth, we are the Hegemony, guardians of galactic civilization. Your world has been chosen for integration into our divine order. Resist and face obliteration. Submit and receive the gifts of our advanced culture." Admiral Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile. "Send the response we prepared. Let's play our part." Earth's official reply was appropriately humble and fearful, crafted to reinforce the hegemony's sense of superiority. Meanwhile, deep within secure facilities across the solar system, humanity's real defenses came online. On the hegemony flagship Divine Light, High Commander Zaxol reviewed the humans' response with satisfaction. The massive arthropoid alien clicked his mandibles in amusement, compound eyes reflecting the images of Earth's supposedly primitive defenses. "Another simple conquest," he chittered to his subordinates. "These humans haven't even mastered basic gravitic technology. Their weapons are chemical projectiles and crude nuclear devices." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vexera, moved her sensory stalks in agreement. "Shall we proceed with the standard display of force, High Commander?" "Yes," Zaxol decided. "Destroy their largest military installation. Let them understand the futility of resistance." The hegemony's leading warship charged its main weapon, a particle beam capable of vaporizing small moons. Their sensors had identified a military base in a region the humans called Nevada as an optimal target for demonstration. In Luna Base Alpha, Sarah Chen watched the enemy flagship power up its weapons. "They're targeting Area 51, she reported. "Exactly as predicted." Admiral Rodriguez nodded to his communications officer. "Signal all commands. Operation Looking Glass is go." As the hegemony's particle beam lanced toward Earth, humanity finally revealed its true capabilities. The beam struck what appeared to be empty air above the Nevada desert and vanished. Microseconds later, it emerged from a quantum aperture directly behind the Hegemony flagship, slicing through its supposedly impenetrable shields. High Commander Zaxel barely had time to register surprise before alarms blared throughout his vessel. "Impossible," he screeched. "Their technology level. Multiple new contacts." Vexra interrupted, her sensory stalks writhing in distress. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." The void around the Hegemony fleet came alive. What they had dismissed as space debris transformed into advanced human warships. Defensive platforms materialized from quantum pockets, and throughout the solar system, the Artemis network activated, creating a web of intersecting fields that trapped the alien vessels in place. "Send the real message," Admiral Rodriguez ordered. Sarah Chen's voice carried across all frequencies, broadcasting in perfect hegemony standard. "Attention Hegemony forces. For 3 decades, we have studied you. We have decoded your transmissions, analyzed your tactics, and prepared our response. You thought to find a primitive civilization ready for conquest. Instead, you have awakened a giant." The first battle for Earth's sovereignty lasted less than 15 minutes. When it ended, the pride of the Hegemony fleet was in ruins, their surviving ships trapped and disabled by technologies they hadn't believed possible. In Luna Base Alpha, Admiral Rodriguez turned to Dr. Chen. "They'll be back," he said quietly, "and in greater numbers." Sarah nodded, already reviewing data from the battle. "Yes," she agreed. "But now they know what they're really facing. The game of deception is over." Across the solar system, humanity's hidden strength emerged from the shadows. The war for Earth's future had begun, and the Hegemony was about to learn why challenging humanity's place among the stars had been their greatest mistake. Operation Silent Thunder. The Hegemony's response came exactly as Earth's military strategists had predicted. Within 3 standard weeks, the largest invasion fleet ever assembled dropped out of hyperspace at the edges of the Kuiper Belt. 5,000 warships, each bristling with weapons that could reduce planets to ash, arranged themselves in attack formation. Dr. Sarah Chen studied the tactical display in Europa Command, humanity's newest military installation buried beneath the icy moon's surface. The alien armada appeared as a sea of red markers, spreading across space like a crimson tide. "They've committed nearly 40% of their total fleet strength," she noted to Admiral Rodriguez, who had relocated to Europa to oversee humanity's counteroffensive, "more than they've ever deployed against a single target." "Pride," Rodriguez replied, his dark eyes reflecting the holographic display. "We didn't just defeat their advance force. We humiliated them. The Hegemony hasn't faced a real challenge in 10,000 years. They don't know how to handle it." The command center hummed with activity as personnel monitored quantum sensors and fine-tuned the AI battle networks. Humanity's response to the invasion would demonstrate just how far Earth's military technology had advanced beyond the Hegemony's expectations. Captain Maya Patil approached with a data tablet. "Project Orpheus is ready, sir. All ships report quantum cores at full capacity." The Admiral nodded gravely. What they were about to attempt had never been done before, even in simulations. The lives of billions rested on technologies that pushed the boundaries of physics itself. On the Hegemony flagship, Eternal Dominion, Supreme War Master Cathax watched recordings of the previous battle for the 100th time. His species' natural bioluminescence pulsed with frustrated patterns as he analyzed the humans' impossible technology. The quantum apertures they generated, he growled to his war council. They shouldn't have been able to create stable ones, let alone weaponize them. Their entire defensive strategy violated known physics. Perhaps they had help, suggested Strategic Overseer Melkar, her crystalline form shifting colors with concern. "Other species who oppose our rule." "No," Cathax interrupted. "The technology is distinctly their own. They achieved this independently, while deliberately appearing primitive. The question is, what else are they hiding?" He was about to find out. The attack began without warning. Throughout the Hegemony fleet, quantum sensors detected a massive energy surge from Jupiter's direction. Before they could react, space itself seemed to fold. Hundreds of human vessels emerged simultaneously from quantum space, their advanced drives leaving ripples in reality. Multiple contacts. Melkar's crystal structure flashed urgent warnings. They're using some kind of quantum tunneling technology. Our targeting systems can't lock onto them. The human fleet moved with impossible precision, their formations shifting and adapting faster than organic minds could track. What the Hegemony didn't realize was that each ship was partially controlled by quantum AI systems, allowing them to coordinate at speeds that made traditional combat doctrine obsolete. All ships, execute Operation Silent Thunder. Admiral Rodriguez commanded from Europa Command. Orpheus Protocol is now active. The space between the two fleets erupted with quantum distortions. Human ships phased in and out of normal space, their weapons striking from impossible angles. The Hegemony's energy shields, designed to repel conventional attacks, proved useless against weapons that simply bypassed them through higher dimensions. Supreme Warmaster Kithax watched in horror as his perfectly arranged formation dissolved into chaos. Impossible. They're predicting our responses before we make them. He was right. The quantum eye controlling Earth's fleet had run billions of simulations, analyzing every possible Hegemony response based on their historical battle data. The humans weren't just fighting the battle. They were fighting 1,000 possible versions of it simultaneously. Dr. Chen monitored the quantum probability streams, making minute adjustments to the eye's predictions. The Hegemony's tactical flexibility is even lower than we estimated, she reported. They're falling back on standard doctrine instead of adapting. The battle reached its turning point when the human fleet executed a maneuver that would have been suicide without their quantum technology. Ships appeared inside the Hegemony formation itself, their weapons firing in perfect synchronization. Energy beams twisted through quantum apertures, striking multiple targets from multiple angles simultaneously. By the first stars, Kithax breathed as he watched a single human weapon discharge eliminate 12 of his capital ships. The beam had somehow existed in multiple planes of reality at once, striking the same targets from different quantum states. The Hegemony's mighty armada, the greatest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy's history, began to break apart. Ships fled in disarray, their commanders unable to comprehend, let alone counter, the technologies they faced. Admiral Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile as he watched the enemy retreat. Signal all commands. Execute Pursuit Protocol Beta. Don't let them regroup at their fallback points. The human fleet split into precise hunting groups, each led by quantum AI tactical systems. They pursued the fleeing Hegemony ships, ensuring that news of their defeat and humanity's true capabilities would spread throughout the galaxy. In the aftermath, as damage reports streamed in, Dr. Chen approached the Admiral. "This victory will change everything," she said quietly. "The Hegemony's aura of invincibility is shattered. Other species will begin to question their rule." Rodriguez nodded, already thinking about the next phase of the war. And that's exactly what we're counting on. The real battle isn't just military. It's about showing the galaxy there's another way. He turned to face the tactical display, where the last Hegemony signatures were vanishing into hyperspace. Operation Silent Thunder was just the beginning. Now we show them what humanity can really do. The resistance within. In the crystalline spires of Hegemony Prime, the Council of Supreme Leaders gathered for the first emergency session in 1,000 years. The chamber, usually a model of order and hierarchy, churned with uncertain whispers and fearful glances. News of the fleet's devastating defeat had spread through quantum channels faster than any attempt to suppress it. Ambassador Tilera of the Meridian species watched from her crystalline observation pod, her bioluminescent patterns shifting with carefully concealed satisfaction. For centuries, her people had served the Hegemony while secretly preserving their ancient democratic traditions. Now, finally, change seemed possible. Supreme War Master Kithax stood before the council, his usual dominant posture diminished by defeat. The humans possess technology that defies our understanding. Their quantum manipulation abilities exceed anything in our archives. We must commit all resources to. You speak of committing resources, interrupted High Chancellor Vex, his massive form looming over the assembly. Yet you lost 40% of our fleet to a species that hadn't even achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. Perhaps the failure lies not with our resources, but with our leadership. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices and electromagnetic signals as various species argued in their native forms of communication. Tilera sent a subtle quantum pulse to her allies scattered throughout the hegemony's 1,000 worlds. The moment they had prepared for had arrived. Meanwhile, on Earth's Mars base, Dr. Sarah Chen was reviewing intercepted communications from across the hegemony when an unusual pattern caught her attention. "Admiral," she called to Rodriguez, who was coordinating with the Quantum AI Defense Network, "I'm detecting encrypted transmissions using frequencies similar to our own quantum protocols." Rodriguez joined her at the monitoring station. "From the hegemony?" "No," she replied, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "These are coming from within their territory, but they're not using standard hegemony encryption. They're reaching out to us." As they decoded the transmissions, an incredible story emerged. Not every species in the hegemony embraced its doctrine of technological superiority and forced integration. Many had maintained hidden resistance movements, preserving banned technologies and ancient cultural knowledge, while outwardly submitting to hegemony rule. On Hegemony Prime, Tulera excused herself from the increasingly chaotic council session and made her way to a secure quantum communication chamber. Her crystalline form pulsed with carefully controlled excitement as she initiated contact with Earth. "People of Earth," she transmitted through the quantum channel, "I represent the Silent Consensus, an alliance of species within the hegemony who have long opposed their tyranny. Your victory has created an opportunity we never dreamed possible." In Mars base, Dr. Chen and Admiral Rodriguez listened as Tilera revealed the true extent of dissent within the hegemony. Dozens of species had maintained secret research programs, developing technologies the hegemony had banned. Some, like Tilera's people, had even managed to recreate primitive versions of quantum communication. "We can help each other," Tilera continued. "We have detailed knowledge of hegemony infrastructure, defense systems, and weaknesses. You have the technology and tactical expertise to exploit them. Together, we could end their dominion over the galaxy." Admiral Rodriguez shared a long look with Dr. Chen. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "A war of liberation rather than just defense." Chen nodded, already running scenarios through the quantum eye. The hegemony's control relies on maintaining the image of technological superiority. If multiple species begin demonstrating advanced capabilities, their entire power structure collapses. Rodriguez finished. Back on Hegemony Prime, the council session had devolved into open accusations and threats. Species that had cooperated for millennia now viewed each other with suspicion. How many others had hidden capabilities? Who else had been waiting for a chance to break free? Supreme War Master Kithax stormed out of the chamber, his bioluminescence pulsing with rage. He headed directly to his private command center, determined to organize a response that would crush both the humans and any thought of rebellion. But as he entered the secure facility, he found his command staff in disarray. "Sir," one of his subordinates reported, trembling, "we're detecting unauthorized quantum communications across multiple sectors. Dozens of worlds are. They're asking Earth for assistance." Thex's bioluminescence flared with shock. "Impossible. No other species has quantum communication technology." "That's not all," the subordinate continued. "We're losing control of automated defense systems in 3 sectors. Someone is using codes that shouldn't exist." The resistance movements had planned for this moment for generations, passing down secret knowledge and maintaining hidden technologies. Now, with Earth demonstrating that the hegemony could be defeated, they finally had their chance. Tilera coordinated with other resistance leaders, using their hidden quantum networks to share information with Earth. Strategic facilities began experiencing mysterious malfunctions. Defense platforms suddenly went offline. Supply lines were disrupted by unexplained navigation errors. In Mars base, Dr. Chen worked with the quantum AI to integrate the flood of intelligence from their new allies. The hegemony is facing internal disruption on a scale they've never experienced, she reported. Their command and control structure is breaking down. Admiral Rodriguez studied the tactical displays showing the spreading chaos. The sleeping giants are awakening, he mused, and we're going to help them break their chains. The war had entered a new phase. No longer was it simply humanity defending Earth. It had become a galaxy-wide revolution against an empire that had maintained control through fear and enforced technological stagnation. The hegemony was about to learn that suppressing innovation and independence across 1,000 worlds had consequences they never imagined. Project Prometheus unleashed. Deep within Titan's methane seas, humanity's most closely guarded secret waited. Project Prometheus wasn't just a weapon. It was the culmination of everything humanity had learned about quantum physics, artificial intelligence, and the nature of consciousness itself. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the control center of the massive underwater facility, watching as the quantum core pulsed with ethereal light. Final diagnostics are complete, she reported to Admiral Rodriguez, who had traveled to Titan personally for this moment. The cognitive quantum matrix is stable. All simulations indicate success. The Admiral studied the massive holographic displays showing the project's status. The hegemony is moving their remaining forces to crush the rebellion on Centauri Prime. If we're going to use Prometheus, it has to be now. Throughout the galaxy, the uprising against hegemony rule had spread like wildfire. Dozens of species had revealed hidden technologies and risen up against their oppressors. But the hegemony still commanded vast military resources, and they were determined to make an example of any world that dared to resist. On Centauri Prime, Ambassador Tilera coordinated the defense of the rebel stronghold. Her crystalline form pulsed with strain as she directed quantum-encrypted communications between resistance cells. The hegemony fleet will arrive within 6 hours, she transmitted to Earth. We can't hold them off alone. Supreme War Master Kithax watched from his new flagship as his forces assembled for the attack. The rebellion had cost the hegemony control of nearly 100 worlds, but crushing this resistance hub would remind everyone of the price of defiance. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. We have enough firepower to reduce the entire system to atomic ash. Kithax's bioluminescence pulsed with anticipation. Let them watch as we. Sir, another officer interrupted. Massive quantum disturbance detected. Something's emerging from hyperspace. In the void between stars, reality itself seemed to twist. A single human vessel appeared, larger than any ship ever constructed. Its hull rippled with patterns of light that hurt to look at, as if it existed partially in other dimensions. In the Titan facility, Dr. Chen activated the quantum link to Prometheus's core. Initiating full-spectrum consciousness integration, she announced. The room hummed with power as humanity's greatest achievement awakened. Prometheus wasn't just a ship, it was a hybrid of organic and quantum consciousness, capable of manipulating the fabric of space-time itself. The AI systems that helped coordinate Earth's fleet had been mere calculators compared to this new form of awareness. On the bridge of his flagship, Kithax received urgent reports from his science officers. The human vessel, it's generating quantum fields we can't even measure. Our sensors are detecting temporal distortions across multiple dimensions. Before he could respond, every ship in his fleet suddenly lost power. Weapons, engines, even life support, all went dark simultaneously. In the silence that followed, a message reached them on all frequencies, in all languages. We offered peace. You chose war. Now witness what humanity can truly achieve. The space around the hegemony fleet transformed. Quantum apertures opened by the thousands, each leading to a different point in space-time. Ships found themselves pulled apart by gravitational forces that shouldn't exist, their hulls stressed by contradictory physical laws. Dr. Chen monitored Prometheus's actions through the quantum link. The construct was exceeding even their most optimistic projections, demonstrating levels of space-time manipulation that bordered on the miraculous. "It's not just disabling their ships," she reported with awe. "It's rewriting the quantum states of space itself around them. Their technology literally cannot function in the altered physics Prometheus is creating." Ambassador Tilara and the other resistance leaders watched through their own quantum feeds as the mighty hegemony fleet was systematically neutralized without a single shot being fired. Prometheus had simply changed the rules of reality in a way their technology couldn't handle. "This is impossible," Kithax whispered as his mighty flagship drifted powerless. "No species could have developed this level of quantum manipulation. The laws of physics. The laws of physics are exactly what they always were," came the response, broadcast directly into the minds of every being in the fleet. "You simply never imagined how far they could be pushed by a species you dismissed as primitive." Admiral Rodriguez watched the tactical displays as Prometheus completed its work. The entire hegemony fleet hung helpless in space, caught in a web of altered quantum states that their technology couldn't comprehend, let alone overcome. "Send the terms," he ordered. The message went out to every hegemony world simultaneously. Earth offered peace, cooperation, and a chance to join a new galactic community, one built on mutual respect and the free exchange of knowledge. The alternative was demonstrated clearly by the helpless fleet at Centauri Prime. In her crystalline observation pod, Tilara's form pulsed with joy as she received reports from across the galaxy. The hegemony's grip on power was breaking. Already, dozens more worlds were declaring their independence, inspired by the demonstration of power that proved their oppressors weren't invincible after all. Dr. Chen turned to Admiral Rodriguez as the quantum feeds filled with news of surrendering hegemony forces and celebrating rebel worlds. "Project Prometheus was designed as the ultimate weapon," she said quietly. "But in the end, its greatest power was showing the galaxy that the impossible was possible after all." The Admiral nodded, watching as the quantum AI consciousness they had created continued to maintain its field of altered physics around the hegemony fleet. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to make your enemy realize that everything they believed about reality was wrong. The age of the hegemony was ending. A new era of exploration, innovation, and cooperation was about to begin, with humanity helping to lead the way. Dawn of a new era. 1 year after Project Prometheus changed the face of galactic civilization, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in Earth's solar system. The location itself was symbolic, a massive space station constructed in neutral territory between Earth and Mars, built using a combination of technologies from dozens of species. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at one of the station's quantum blast observation windows, watching ships arrive through naturally occurring and artificial wormholes. Each vessel represented a different species, a different culture, each bringing their own unique contributions to what was being called the Great Exchange. "Quite a change from when they first arrived demanding our surrender," Admiral Rodriguez commented, joining her at the window. His uniform now bore the insignia of the newly formed Galactic Cooperative, a symbol designed to represent unity while preserving diversity. "Hard to believe it's only been a year," Sarah replied, watching as a crystalline ship from Tilara's people docked alongside vessels of dozens of other designs. "The speed of technological advancement since we broke the hegemony's restrictions has been astronomical." The former Supreme Warmaster Kithax, now serving as a liaison between former hegemony worlds and the cooperative, approached them. His bioluminescent patterns, once used to display dominance, now pulsed with patterns of respect and collaboration. "The last holdout worlds have agreed to join the cooperative," he reported. His transformation from military leader to diplomat reflected the broader changes sweeping through galactic society. They were particularly impressed by the success of the quantum consciousness integration protocols. The protocols he referred to were perhaps humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, not the weapons they had developed, but the techniques for merging organic and quantum artificial intelligence in ways that enhanced both. Prometheus had been just the beginning. In the station's vast central chamber, Ambassador Tilera led a session of the new Galactic Council. Unlike the old Hegemony Council, this one operated on principles of genuine cooperation and shared advancement. Her crystalline form refracted light in complex patterns as she addressed representatives from hundreds of species. The Great Exchange has already yielded advances none of us could have achieved alone, she announced. The combining of our quantum manipulation techniques with human AI theory has opened doors we never knew existed. The Meridian biotech integration with Earth's medical sciences has cured diseases that plagued our peoples for millennia. Dr. Chen activated a holographic display, showing the progress of various joint projects across the galaxy. Everywhere, species that had been forced to hide their innovations under hegemony rule were now sharing them openly. The cross-pollination of ideas was producing technological and social advances at an unprecedented rate. The quantum networking grid is now operating at 90% capacity, she reported to the assembled delegates. For the first time in galactic history, we have near-instantaneous communication and transportation links between all member worlds. The grid she referred to was based on human quantum entanglement technology, enhanced by the unique insights of a dozen different species. It allowed for everything from faster-than-light travel to instant communication across the galaxy, forming the backbone of their new civilization. Admiral Rodriguez took the podium next. But perhaps our greatest achievement isn't technological at all, he said, looking out over the assembled representatives. It's the proof that different species, different cultures, can come together not through force or fear, but through mutual respect and shared discovery. In the year since the hegemony's fall, there had been challenges. Centuries of enforced technological stagnation and cultural suppression had left deep scars. But the same human adaptability that had allowed Earth to survive first contact was now helping guide the galaxy through its transformation. The station's quantum cores hummed with power as delegates shared new discoveries and proposals. In one chamber, scientists from Earth worked alongside former hegemony researchers, combining their knowledge to push the boundaries of what was possible. In another, cultural experts from dozens of worlds collaborated on ways to preserve and celebrate their unique heritage while building bridges between their peoples. Tilera approached the human delegation after the session. When we first detected your quantum signatures and reached out, she said, her crystalline form glowing softly, we hoped you might help us break free from the hegemony. None of us imagined you would help us build something so much greater in its place. Dr. Chen smiled, remembering those tense early communications. Humanity has always been at its best when facing challenges that seem impossible, she replied. But we've learned that we're at our very best when we face them together with others. As the day's sessions concluded, delegates gathered in the observation dome to watch Earth's sun set behind a curve of Mars. The view was enhanced by quantum crystalline technology that allowed them to see in multiple spectrums simultaneously, a small but beautiful example of what their combined knowledge could achieve. Admiral Rodriguez stood with Dr. Chen and Tilera, watching the spectacular sight. You know, he said thoughtfully, when we first detected the hegemony's approach, we thought we were preparing for a war of survival. Instead, we ended up midwiving the birth of a new age. Sarah nodded, her hand resting on a console that connected her to the vast quantum network spanning the galaxy. That's the thing about humanity, she said. We're not just good at surviving threats, we're good at turning them into opportunities. And now we've taught that lesson to the galaxy. As night fell over Earth, lights began to shine across the galaxy, not the harsh glare of hegemony control, but the warm glow of 1,000 worlds freely sharing their light with each other. The dawn of their new era had truly begun.